Now I can. Now I can breathe a little bit, and we'll just start training her up. It's going to help tremendously. All right. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Dum didn't just leave Parker. He stabbed him in the back and shook hands with Rick Ness instead. After years of loyalty, grease, and grind, the man everyone trusted flipped sides and fired up a gold war no one saw coming. Tune in, because what Chris does next might just destroy everything Parker built. When loyalty isn't enough, he had always been the steady hand on deck. The kind of guy who never rocked the boat, trusted, dependable, the one who could fix a busted engine with nothing but a wrench, a chunk of wire, and some chewing gum if needed. Everyone knew where his loyalties lay. That crew had weathered thick, mud and snow-packed breakdowns together. No one expected anything to change, but things don't always stay the same. But then came the night he vanished, and what we found buried under his bunk changed everything. It didn't begin with shouting or slamming doors, more like a slow build-up. A whisper that grew louder over time. Days dragged long, nights got colder, and while he kept putting in the work, something behind his eyes had shifted. People began to notice. Maybe he was thinking bigger. Maybe he was feeling stuck. Mining gold is hard on the body, but it's even harder on the soul when your sweat doesn't seem to matter. Right now, I don't think all the coffee and cigars in the world are going to help. And if I create a bottleneck, it's going to jam up everything. The camp had its rhythm. The crew ran tight, smooth like a well-oiled machine. But even machines wear down. He had always been the fixer, the problem solver. The role that made things run smoother doesn't always get the credit, and over time, it starts to feel like running in place. On another claim, Rick Ness was fighting. His own battles. Far from perfect, his team had hit bumps, faltered, sometimes downright crashed. But he kept grinding, kept building. He wasn't just looking for workers, he was trying to build a real team. So when he heard there might be a shift happening, he moved fast. There was no spectacle, no dramatic offers, just a quiet conversation, a promise of something different. A space not just to work, but to lead. A place where ideas mattered. Rick saw something others had overlooked. When word spread, it hit like wildfire. People were shocked, not just surprised, shocked. The kind of news that makes people stop mid-coffee sip. Some didn't believe it, others felt it instantly, because this wasn't just a guy switching camps. This was the right-hand man, the steady presence. Back at the original crew, not much was said aloud. The boss kept his eyes on the ground, on the numbers, on the dig. But those who were close could feel it. It was like losing part of the foundation. There were things only he knew, knowledge etched into every bolt and beam. It's wildly stressful waiting to find out if you're going to make it back. And, did we? I think it's close. At Rick's, the mood was different. Some were wary, most were excited. It wasn't just about the skills. It was about the energy, the mindset. He didn't come in swinging, he got to work, earned his place all over again. No baggage, no drama, just results. Machines broke down less, schedules tightened, gold didn't start pouring in, but things were moving. The move sent ripples through the mining world. Old lines started to blur. Loyalty began to look different. Some saw it as betrayal. Others saw it as a man claiming his worth. He didn't ask for permission. He just did the work, fixed what was broken, made things better, and even the doubters had to admit he made a difference. Time passed, but the impact stuck. He became the quiet leader, balancing chaos with calm. Knew when to push, when to ease off, when to steady the wheel. And on the old team, adjustments happened. People stepped up, roles shifted, but the presence of what once was lingered, a reminder that even the best crews need space to grow, or they risk losing what holds them together. He walked away, but what happened after that changed everything. The man who walked away from gold, he found his space, his purpose, and his next chapter. And in doing so, he proved something big. that sometimes the boldest move isn't staying loyal. It's being brave enough to step away. This wasn't just about one man switching crews. It was about what happens when people stop settling. It was about the risk of leaving and the reward of starting fresh. It was about believing that your best days might be ahead, not behind. And for everyone watching, it was a lesson in change, in guts, in making a choice even when the road is uncertain. He didn't wait for permission. He made his move, and whether people cheered or groaned, they couldn't look away. Because when someone like him steps out of the shadows and takes the lead, you know something's shifting. The change didn't slide in quietly. It stomped in, dusty boots and all, shaking things up hard. One moment he's right next to Parker, knee-deep in mud and dreams, and the next he's linked up with Ness like they'd always been a team. This wasn't just a switch. It was a full-on shake-up that made jaws drop. People were watching, and people were talking. He had been part of Parker's story for what felt like forever. They had been through rough seasons, broken down gear, and enough pressure to crush steel. Folks saw them as tight, like bricks in the same wall, but behind the scenes, not always sunshine. Tension was always just under the surface, hidden under the grease and the dust. Being in someone's shadow can wear you down, make you wonder what it'd feel like to stand in your own light. Ness was climbing his own kind of mountain, steep, risky, and wild. He had big goals, a rough ride, and plenty of grit. What he needed was someone who knew the grind and didn't mind shaking things up. The new guy wasn't just a good fit. He was the spark, and he didn't sneak in. He walked in head on. Sure, you hit the mother lode. I'll expect a few ounces of gold rent, but, no. If it helps you out, take it. And just get back on your feet, man. This wasn't a soft exit. Leaving Parker wasn't like walking out of a store. It was more like tearing a page out of a book, loud, messy, and impossible to ignore. This wasn't just leaving a job. It was walking away from a story that had roots. People felt it. Some were hurt. Some were mad. All were surprised. At Parker's sight, the shift hit hard. You could feel the change in the air, like the buzz before a storm. Work kept moving, but there was a quiet hum. It's tough losing someone who was part of the core. Trust takes time to build, and it shatters quick. Rick's side, though? That camp lit up. The new arrival brought a new rhythm. The crew moved sharper, quicker. It felt like someone had cranked up the volume. Suddenly, this wasn't just another team digging for gold. This was a unit with something to prove, and he wasn't just a guy with a shovel, he was the message. Rick was serious, and things were about to change. The fans, they went wild. Online threads burst open, some cheered for him, said it. Was brave, smart. Others took it hard, like a crack in something they believed was solid. That word, betrayal, got tossed around like gravel. But this move wasn't simple. It wasn't just about money or gold, it was about freedom. A shot at something different, maybe something more. Every gold count, every breakdown, every move got extra eyes. Was Chris winning? Could Rick keep up? Was Parker wounded, or just adjusting? No one really had answers, but everyone had opinions. Out in the dirt, the grind never stopped. Trucks groaned, dirt flew, machines screamed, but something felt different. The old team pushed harder, spoke less, like they had something deep to prove, not just to outsiders, but to each other, that they were still strong, still solid, still real. Rick's camp kept rising. Chris added more than skill. He brought a beat, a drive. Wins came faster. The team clicked. I don't really know what's going on. I can't get a hold of him. He's not answering his phone. He's not answering texts. Did something happen to the guy? Is he just late? Is he done? Is he not coming back? Fans leaned in, watching every step. This move was never just about jobs. It was about names, pride, lines drawn in the dirt. Chris made his move, and the ripples reached far. Some said he was chasing respect. Others said he broke the rules. Either way, he changed the game.